was on time, but it was terrible, so that's fun.
I think, did you guys see the new Tesla vehicles? Specifically the Roadster and the truck? Is that all they announced?
Yeah, that's all they announced. They also announced that they're not a Ponzi scheme, so that's nice for them.
Yes.
Was there assuming, people were assuming that they were a Ponzi scheme?
There's a general thought that Tesla is a Ponzi scheme because, like, they accepted all this money, and they have yet to bring out, like, a consistent product to everyone. So they're just using money from new people. Like, so if I pre-ordered a car, they're using that money to pay the other person, like, to build a car for the other person. But in the end, they're not going to have cars for the other people.
Is that a Ponzi scheme? I thought that was just, like, what you have to do sometimes.
No, that's what happens. Yeah. That's not just, like, legal. You can't sell people
Amazon's
things
been, like, banking on... Well, I mean, so
no,
I guess there's a difference.
Amazon has plenty of cash. Like, they have actual cash. But now they do.
Now they do, but that's what I'm saying with Tesla, though, because, like, you just got to use that money to forward selling. There's a term for it in business, isn't there?
Yeah,
pre-selling.
Like, yeah, you can pre-sell things, but you have to, like, reasonably guarantee that person's going to get the product. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that you are going to get your. If you're like, I want to buy this car.
So is it like crowdfunding? Like that's
essentially
similar, but that's like different because you're doing it in the anticipation of an investment. This is like, I want this product, give it to me, like I'm signing up for it without knowing when I'm going to get the product.
Okay.
And there's no guarantee that they're ever going to get the product. Like, Tesla could go out of business and that person would never get their money back.
And we're specifically talking about those $35,000 cars or whatever, like the consumer
Model
grade.
S's.
Yeah. They haven't shipped those yet?
No. Well, they've only shipped like a limited amount. Like, they made like 500 this year.
It was one of the most like pre-sold things ever, wasn't it? Pre-order people were like waiting out and stuff.
Yeah.
Today, we're joined by... What's up? Hello, and welcome to the Reality Check Podcast, episode...
38.
Episode 38. I always forget. I can't remember.
We've been doing this for 38 weeks.
That's insane.
What the heck?
That's really insane. I went back. I uploaded all the podcasts onto SoundCloud. So everybody that's listening, they're going to be on SoundCloud very soon if that's your platform. And then Google Play and then Spotify and iTunes and all the other platforms soon. Anyways, I was going through them all and I was like, holy cow. We covered some really interesting topics, actually. I want to go back and re-listen to some of the old podcasts and maybe even just react to them or like see what we got right, what we got wrong. Because we made a lot of claims and a lot of future predictions is the word I'm looking for. Predictions. Anyways, welcome to the Reality Check Podcast, episode 38. I'm Eric. I'm your host. We might be at a little bit more different setting or platform than you're used to. And we're a lot later than you're used to. And those two correlate. We switched up the setting because Paul's here today. And so we wanted to have a more formal, casual setting. And it just went to crap getting cables and everything hooking up. But anytime you change anything, it just doesn't work out.
You're always missing one cable.
So anyway, sorry for being late. But anyways, I'm joined by my one good friend and one my not so good friend. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, boys. How about let's start with a not so good friend. Oh, I see.
Okay. Well, I'm Austin. I'm here, and I'm ready to talk about things.
All right, let's move on to my good friend.
Hi, everyone. I'm Paul. You might remember me from the crappy video feed coming from Google Hangouts and maybe like the stuttering speech online due to my internet connection or their internet connection. But I'm here now in the podcast for my first time ever live in the office with these guys. So it's exciting, and I'm happy to be here on the Reality Check Podcast, and I'm excited to talk about things.
Yes, there's lots to talk about. We're also joined by Caden on the switcher, the magic hand. I don't think he can get his hand in this one. We're just getting the middle finger over there. And we're joined by Suki, our local pet. She might make her way into the
If she can drag that
podcast
chair over here
soon. So if you see us being distracted, that's probably why. So let's just kind of... Oh, there's cables everywhere. I'm just kicking everybody's stuff. Let's go ahead and jump. Let's get right into the news. Someone drop me an article, please.
Okay, so Minecraft has come out for Windows Mixed Reality as a little bit of a tester. I think it's still kind of in beta phases. But yeah, they brought it out on for VR, and it's come to mixed reviews. I think a lot of people have said it's extremely fun.
Someone's making it into the podcast. Wow, Suki, you're so tall. How did you make it in? Wait, should we give her a little cameo? Here you go. Here's Suki for you guys.
Don't reveal your face,
while we
though.
open our drinks.
Yeah, we're opening our drinks while Suki's doing her thing. There she is. That's what you guys came for. That's what you wanted to see. Thumbs up for the dog, who's way more attractive than all of us. And Caden has yet to have a face or voice reveal. We're still working on that modulator. Caden said if we get 5,000 likes, he'll reveal his face and voice. So go ahead and get working on that.
This is smooth.
That's total. What is this? What do we got? Outrageous ginger ale.
Outrageous ginger ale. My only outrageous drink.
It's way as smooth
This
as
is what we're
Cockable.
sponsored by?
Should we just start saying we're sponsored by stuff even though we're not?
Yeah.
Today we're sponsored by Republic of Gamers, ROG. Actually, we're not. We paid a shit ton for our computers, so I probably should not say we're sponsored by them.
We're also sponsored by Petrol, which is the people for the ethical treatment of reinforcement learners. So be sure to check out their site. That's petrl.org. Make sure you check them out. It's very important to what we believe in, and I think that's why they were a good sponsorship pick.
Yes, they don't even pay us. We just sponsor them because we agree with what they have to say and their message. So, it's been a week since we talked about the last podcast. What happened last week? What was a recap? I don't think there was a whole lot of news last week. Oh, it was mostly WMR stuff. Everything's really WMR heavy right now.
It was the big Steam VR reveal.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. We got Steam VR hooked up onto our headset, and we were trying it out last night. It seems to work absolutely fine. I heard people were having complaints that it was not working hard. It was hard to set up. It was smooth. You hooked it up in 10 minutes.
I just went to the Windows developer forum and read how to do it and set it up. So
Controllers worked fine, everything.
Yeah.
We had no problems. I don't know. You tried it, right?
Yeah.
What were your opinions of well, I guess you didn't get to try WMR, but the headset and everything at least.
Yeah, I'd like to try WMR later. But everything seems to work great. Like the handsets work great. The headset.
you
works
played
great.
the Arrow game?
Yeah,
Like,
and
no
tracking
glitches?
was perfect.
Really?
No real glitches there. So yeah, everything worked fine.
Which is what most people were worried about was like the longbow games and the shooting, which okay, we gotta focus. Which you didn't have any problems with the bow and arrow or anything like that. Because I know there was one video where the guy pulled it behind his head like this, and that's where it loses tracking. But they said they did a pretty good job because like anchored it pretty well. And first off, who the heck is pulling something that far back? I don't know.
You're not even pulling a real bow that far back. So like,
don't
I
know
think
what
it's more
bows you
realistic
shoot.
that it would lose tracking. Because if you try and do that, you're gonna chop your head off.
Exactly. If you're putting it that far behind your head. That's what it kind of looks like when. That's what actually
Yeah.
what it looked like in the. Because it anchored his hand in place. Because it remembers your placement when you pull the controller out of the scene. It remembers the placement, and then it just uses like the accelerometers and stuff in it to figure out what's actually going on. So I saw a lot of complaints on Facebook specifically about people saying this is like fake, or why not just spend the money on a traditional headset. Let's actually talk about that for a second. So we've all had a little bit of time to play with it, and we haven't really tried the traditional headsets, but let's just assume they're better, just because that's what everybody's saying. Let's just assume they're better with the towers. Tracking's better. Maybe these headsets are higher resolution and such, but do you think there's much reason... Well, if you guys had $400 right now, you could pick up a Vive or a Windows MR headset. What would your guys' pick be?
So I guess I'm going to be biased because I haven't tried the Vive ever.
Yeah.
But based on the fact that I have to use towers, like I like the idea of portability. Like I can take this to my friend's house, quickly set it up, and like on my gaming laptop or whatever, and show them what it is.
Yeah.
I don't have to. I can go to their house where if I want to demonstrate it, I can be anywhere. It's really portable, and that's something that you don't see in the Vive with these towers, and I think that's a really big point for me personally. But I don't know. What do you think, Paul?
No, I think I'd have to agree with that. I don't really see the Vive as something that fits into like my lifestyle. Like I don't want to. Like I live in a 1,000 square foot apartment, which it's bigger than most apartments, but it's not like anything huge. So I don't want to take up like any of my space, like saying, oh yeah, I have to put in towers here and move those towers out every time I want to play a game. I just want to like sit down on the couch, or like when I was playing with the WMR, like with the Acer headset, it was literally like in this space right behind us, and it was fine. I didn't really need to move anything out of my way. It was a fun experience. So that's kind of what I'm looking for when I just want ease of use out of my VR, I think. And the Vive I don't think gives me that ease of use.
Yeah, which I think is a lot of people's gripes with it. You guys all had a chance to watch Linus Tech Tips review on it on the Windows MR stuff. Let's kind of talk about that for a second. We didn't have time to set it up, but I wanted to have like a live reaction to it where we could go through and talk about everything he said. And I wish I would have wrote down some main points. It was a little rushed, sadly. But he said he was very confused with what WMR, what Windows Mixed Reality was before he got it, and it was not what he expected. Do you guys think that's like a wide consumer problem? Because we talked about this before they came out. We talked about this back even when the HoloLens came out, how like mixed reality is like a dangerous term for consumers. Do you think his criticism there was accurate, or do you think it was a little over the top?
I think it was very accurate. Maybe a little bit over the top, but I mean, Microsoft just called this mixed reality without like anything, and pretty much everyone just dismissed it as another VR headset almost immediately, without really knowing what it was. And I mean, we didn't know what it was until like just barely when we actually got our hands on it. Like they didn't do a good job of saying like remember when the HoloLens was coming out?
Yeah.
Like they took it and they showed us exactly what it was going to do.
Exactly.
With this, they didn't show us anything.
It felt rushed.
Yeah.
It felt very
extremely rushed. So, and it's kind of like a ridiculous term to put on what this is, you know?
Yeah.
I don't really see it as that. So.
No, I think you're definitely right. What about you?
I think Microsoft set it up in such a way, like when they came out with the HoloLens, you got the AR side of things, and then you got the Acer headsets or the HMD headsets, and they're meant to be as companion devices in the future, for like collaboration between whatever you're doing, gaming, working, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what they mean by mixed reality, and that's what they're marketing. So it might not be like, I think that's what they're trying to come about with mixed reality.
And I think you're definitely right. It's like going to be a whole family. Mixed reality is a family, which they never really described. Microsoft has never come out and said that. They've never come out and said this is a family package. Like this is going to be VR, AR, and potentially other devices down the road to fit into this mixed reality platform. Which, unless you do a lot of research, you can't really find their real thoughts on that. So to consumers, it's quite confusing. I think the mixed reality term, and we've talked about this a lot, how there just needs to be naming standards, or at least Microsoft needs to be more clear on what they mean by mixed reality. I don't think his criticism was super fair, though, because I hope that if you're buying $400 on a headset, you know what you're getting beforehand. Mm-hmm. I don't think Microsoft is misleading anybody with what their headsets are at all. I don't think it's false advertising. I don't think it's false marketing. I don't think it's anything like that. And I don't think they're trying to mislead consumers. I think they're just trying to start a trend, which I think is fine. So I don't think it's like an X on the device itself, but I can't remember what else did he say in the review about he said he liked the fidelity of compared to Vive. He liked the portability, but he said he was still going to stick with Vive, or I don't know.
I just think that Linus comes from this like enthusiast sector, and I don't know if he I don't want to discount all of his opinions because I love Linus and his videos, but I think you have to take, as with anyone's criticism, you have to take it with a grain of salt and kind of make the decision for yourself, because they're obviously coming from a viewpoint all to themselves. I mean, Linus is your enthusiast in anything tech. Like, he wants top of the line experiences with anything. He's not like, oh, it's a good enough experience, it has to be the best. Definitely. And I think this is kind of like one of those good enough experiences, whereas the Vive tries to be the best, and it's more enthusiast grade. Like, you're not going to get the average consumer coming in and saying, oh, I want to turn my entire room into a VR play space. No, they're like, okay, every once in a while I can move my chair out of my den and I can play VR games. That's all I want. But for Linus, I think he's the kind of guy who would turn his house into a VR workspace. And build everything around the technology in his house. Actually,
go for that 8K headset.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like the Primax, or I can't remember, Pimax. I don't know what the name is exactly. That's exactly right. And I think Windows Mixed Reality has a lot of ground. A lot of people are crapping on the headsets, depending on what it is. I still think people are saying don't go with the Samsung. People are still saying going with the Dell, I think, is the main thing. Everybody wants to go with the Dell because it's got a wider FOV, which I agree with. That would be nice. But I still think the Samsung all-in-one with the headphones and the mic built in is still the way to go. I still stand by that. What do you guys think?
If you can eliminate as much cables as possible, I'm all for it.
Because there's nothing more stressful than when you're introducing someone to VR or you're trying to get the headset on, you put the headset on somebody and then you hand them controllers and then you put headphones on them and then they have cables going everywhere and they're tripping over it and stuff like that. It's just a hassle. So I think the all-in-one device is still much better, even just to like grab and throw it on.
But I have heard reviews that they say it's really heavy from people that have gotten it, and I mean, I guess that's a personal preference or your neck muscle strength or whatever. But I've heard it's pretty darn heavy.
No, yeah, I remember when I put it on, that was my first thing I said was, this is very heavy. Because you get all that extra bulk with the headphones and everything. It makes sense why it's heavier, but I think that compromise to me is actually worth it. Because the headsets are really light, especially if you're used to wearing something like the HoloLens. The headsets are very light.
Well, and it depends. So if you're using your VR headset with a pair of headphones, which I should hope you're doing, because, I mean, you should want good sound profiling if you're trying to have massive immersion,
Yeah.
and you should have a really nice pair of headphones to go with that, and those are going to be heavy as well. So I think maybe what is making people complain is that it is heavy as an all-in-one thing, but if you add up all the weights of the other stuff you need to go on top of it, like the headphones and that, I think it should probably like equal out in weight. Like the Acer, like your headphones are pretty light that we use with it, but if you got like if we got like a nice pair of like Bose headphones or something, they would be just as heavy.
Right.
Like guaranteed.
Exactly. I bet even with my Skull Candies, I bet if
yeah.
we added that onto the weight of the headset, I bet it'd be the same thing.
And we just don't notice it because we're like, okay, headset on, now hand me the headphones, now hand me the controllers.
The cables is just a mess, though.
Yeah.
I still think that's for mainstream, for VR to go like completely mainstream. It's got to be completely seamless. What is it?
So now that kind of makes a good kind of segue. So I guess Oculus is releasing a new headset called the Oculus Go, which is an all-in-one VR headset, which does not require any cables.
No phone or anything?
No phone.
So do you load the programs on like? Is it Steam VR capable?
You want to drop that link in the chat real
Yeah,
quick?
I'm not exactly sure. They're not. Again, it's a lot of fluff in this, but it's kind of touching on that idea of where someone actually labeled it. Ravi brought it up in the description, in the comments below. So he kind of gave me the idea. So I guess maybe over 1,000 VR games. So yes. So they don't give me a lot of information, but they say a personal portable theater. So what I'm guessing is it can even be used with glasses.
So we're gonna see more of
That
these.
makes more sense to me.
We're gonna
Even
see.
if it's a downgrade experience, I like VR. VR doesn't have to be highest fidelity. I mean, as long as you can maintain 90 frames a second, I don't think people really care super about incredible good graphics. And as long as you can control it. Yeah, as long as you get that frame rate, I don't think people really care. And if you have decent controllers, an all-in-one headset, I would pay the same for an all-in-one headset, even a little bit more. Actually, a significant amount more.
This is only $200.
It's only $200.
Yeah.
That's actually really exciting. And this, I think Facebook owns Oculus, so I think this is really smart. And I think this is the avenue they're going, is mass consumers, and to be able to have everybody get their hands on VR, because they're investing heavily in VR content, which is interesting because they were not super heavy into the first Oculus. Like they didn't really care to like market it too much or anything like that.
So we're gonna see more of these headsets worn by kids in the airport now.
In the airport, yeah, definitely. Well, one thing that actually surprised me getting into VR more, because we're like I said, we're more of an AR channel. Getting into VR more is how big PlayStation VR is. I didn't realize that had such a big standing. I didn't know console level VR was that good. Or there's a huge community, and they're coming out with Skyrim for it, Fallout. There's all these games coming out for it. It's insane.
Yeah, they've sold an incredible amount of units. I think they are outselling like Vive and Oculus right now, and that's just because everyone already has like the tower to run it, like in the PS4, and then getting the VR is like buying another PS4. But if you're like 1 year, okay, I'm getting the PS4. Next year, I'm gonna get the VR for the PS4. I think that's a very good, like, it's easier to sell. It's
palatable.
that way. Yeah, because you're already like, okay, I already have like the hardware to play this. Why not just get the headset to go with it, and then I can play all of these great games in VR, which is fun, and you don't require like this beastie PC because you already have your PS4.
Exactly.
And you have the option. I just see a lot more freedom with PSVR.
I do too, especially when you have your friends over. You don't have to get your computer. Like, so we're fairly tech savvy, so, and I think most people that are playing VR are fairly tech savvy. But I mean, still getting VR to run across all our monitors. We have 2 monitors, plus we want it to run on the TV, plus we want it to run on VR, so that people can be watching someone play VR on the TV. I think VR can be quite a social experience. I think it's like
In a funny way.
in a good way. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be like a party way, not like
Yeah.
we would never sit down and game together. Like there's no interaction like that, but it's fun at like a party where we watch our friends try VR, we put them in VR experiences, we all have fun, people can talk while someone's in VR, and then we just take turns. I think it has a lot of standing there. One thing in the comments, people were saying that the Samsung headset hurts their ears after a while, because that's one thing I did note when I put on the Samsung headset is it was on ear instead of over ear, which I'm just not too friendly of. But they clamped down on your ear really well and really eliminated outside noise, which is really nice. And they were comfortable. I mean, they're made by AKG. I mean, you can't really go wrong. He said after a long time they hurt his ears. To me, VR doesn't feel like a long time experience. I feel like after like 30 or 40 minutes, I'm done with VR.
Yeah.
Now, do you see that as a problem with VR as a whole then, that they can't get these long experiences? I mean, because PC games, their bread and butter is made on getting you to play like 12 hours.
Wow. MMOs,
Yeah.
WoW, Guild Wars, all of those games where you have to crank in thousands.
StarCraft
of
for
hours.
days, dude.
Yeah, so are they going to be relegated to like this mobile app market where it's just very simple games with not a lot of depth, and you're just like, oh, I'll play this when I'm on the toilet?
I
Or
do
do
think
you
that's
think-
where it is now. I think it's a novelty at this point. Lucas Risotto made a great video talking about VR and how this whole AR VR is all a new medium right now, and of course it doesn't feel that like it was Is VR Dead was the video, which is a video we've wanted to talk about too. And no, we don't think VR is dead. We just think it's such a new medium that the experience isn't quite there, and it takes, like that one quote, it took us 15 years to dig into our phone, it's going to take us 15 years to dig out. And since we're such in the community and everybody that our viewers are such in the community, it feels like a long time. It feels like VR's been here for a really, really long time. But in reality, to consumers, it hasn't even touched yet.
Interesting.
She's fine.
So do you think that then that these like Oculus Go headsets, is this pushing it in the right direction where, especially being at only $200, and I think what it looks like is all those apps are preloaded on the device, so there's not really a big pick and choose. It's kind of like you have it. Do you want to use it? Just click it.
I think for consumers, that's better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
think-
you think it's just
All in
better
one.
for adoption as a whole?
As long as
Yeah.
it can go all in one, even if we're including games and stuff like that. I'm so for VR that's just completely all in one. And I think consoles are getting there too. Like an easy way to plug it into your console and to just play. I think that's definitely where it's going. And without towers, I think we're getting there. And it's really exciting. So I don't like when people bash on the Windows MR or even phone-based VR, except for I think phone-based VR is terrible for the platform as a whole.
Oh, definitely.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's one of the worst things for it. So, like, then I guess, would you say that this to me, it makes it seem a little more novelty. I mean, remember those
Definitely.
like little like joysticks you used to get with like 4 preloaded games? That's
Oh, yeah.
kind of what this is feeling like to me right now. So, like, obviously, I'm gonna have to try it before I can really bash it or like it. But to me, I think it kind of makes it seem even more like a novelty. Like, oh, all the apps are preloaded. Like, I don't want a bunch of apps already preloaded. Like, I want to choose.
See, and I'm the opposite. I want the apps preloaded. I just want to buy a device and have it however I want it. See, and the thing about VR overall too, is the apps are very like cut and paste. The longevity I think is a problem because at least I cannot play VR for an extremely long amount of time without getting sick or without just like feeling dead. Like the video that we just did, the exploit for the house. I was like dead after we filmed that because I was just in VR for how long? I was in there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, which doesn't sound like a long time gaming, but just it's exhausting. I don't know. I'm super excited though. But Austin said something funny. He's like, "Wow, the HoloLens is so cool." Because you just barely put on the HoloLens again recently because we were making a video for it. What were your thoughts after not wearing the HoloLens and being in VR for so long, coming back to the HoloLens? What were your first thoughts?
I thought being not tethered is awesome, and augmented reality is way cooler, I think, in my personal experience.
Definitely, I think all our viewers and most people would agree with that statement too. The fact of not being tethered is so important, I think, though.
Oh, yeah. And I have yet to put it on after a year of not using it. So maybe that video will be coming out. My first thoughts after a year away from AR, MR.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's going back to kind of like this fatigue that you felt. That's kind of one of the major gripes about VR, and even with this new Minecraft game, it's like one of the most fatiguing games you can play, I guess, because the lateral movements are so important in the game.
Yep.
You move with the joysticks on the controllers, I guess is the control. So it's not like you're moving, and so a lot of people get like motion sick and just like can't play it for more than a half hour, which completely destroys the entire plan behind Minecraft. I mean, Minecraft, you need to play it
Hours and hours.
Hours
and
and
hours.
hours.
To build
to-
the whole hard works
yeah
city.
to have like a good time in it. So I think that's like a problem. They're bringing out these like really immersive games, but the technology's not there where it's still making us sick and it's still just making us feel terrible.
I think this is okay. Like, this doesn't make me mad. I think shows a lot of room to grow, and that's really exciting. I like that there's room to grow. There's new advancements to be made in the technology and the field.
Yeah, like Lucas said.
Exactly.
We don't know where this medium's going.
It's so fresh. It's so new. Like, this could, like, it could take a completely different derail than we've totally been thinking somehow. There could be just like one pivotal moment that changes the whole thing. And I liked that progression of it. Like VR, I mean, we've already seen progression. We got rid of the towers. That's a big move, actually. Getting rid of the towers is a big move. We're learning to higher fidelity, higher power computers. This advancement is coming. And as far as like the ideology behind VR goes, I think I'm down. I think I'm down to put on a headset and play with my friends for hours. If I can. If I could get, like, if we could get a GTA style thing and we could run around, what's the city? Liberty City?
San Andreas.
San Andreas. If we can run around San Andreas with my friends, doing stuff in VR, I'm totally down for that. Even more than computer stuff. I'm down for VR. I'm ready.
Dude, we gotta go try that experience, the Void or whatever.
Oh yeah, it's down in Provo actually. It's
Yeah.
down here in Utah. That's a private company. That's supposed to be really cool.
We should go cover it.
That'd be cool.
When does that come out?
You can get like selective demos
Oh.
at their offices, and sometimes they take them to like the openings of movies and stuff. But it was developed in here. For those of you that don't know what the Void is, it's a VR experience where you put the whole computer on your backpack and everything. They developed this whole thing, and then they have this whole, like, imagine a haunted house without actually the haunted house stuff. You put on a VR headset and you actually go through this canned experience with walls, but it's cool. Like, it's an Indiana Jones, so you're in just like a white room with nothing in it besides walls and like a maze. But when you're in it, you're seeing it stuff, and you'll get to a point in it, and you'll like reach out, and there'll be like a diamond, and you'll reach out in the real world, and you'll actually grab a diamond. It's really cool. From what I understand, it's supposed to be awesome.
Yeah.
I've only heard good things about it, and that sounds freaking cool to me. We should definitely go try that out. Anyways, to get on to MR, I think we actually have some news stories that we need to cover.
Yeah, like Apple this is like hot off the press. It was rumored for a couple days, but today it just was confirmed by Apple that they're purchasing the augmented reality headset startup VRvana for $30 million. This is a Canadian-based company.
Okay.
And they built a headset called the Totem, which I guess came out to rave reviews, but it was never actually put into production. So I
What's
wonder.
the form factor look like on it?
It looks like your typical VR headset.
Oh, okay.
I'll show you.
I think I saw a video.
This
This is
link. Yeah.
what do they call this? There's a term for this kind of AR where they use a camera and they display your settings in front of you and then they lay stuff over it. I think. I don't think this is like the HoloLens. At least this
it's not.
technology. Yeah, this is called. Oh man, I can't remember.
It's where I think they're going with the technology in the iPhone X.
Oh yeah.
They already have it there. Like they have the particle blaster or whatever they call it.
The IR blaster.
Yeah, the IR blaster.
Particle blaster sounds cooler.
Yeah,
It does sound way cooler.
if I was the head of Apple, we'd call it that. But you kind of get this idea. Like I think that's where Apple wants to go, and I think this is a good acquisition for them, and especially only $30 million. That's chump change to them.
Oh yeah.
So I think this is a good plan, and it kind of gives us a picture to where Apple's going. And I think they are saying, like, okay, we already have the technology in the iPhone X. Now we just need something similar to Google Cardboard, and we can do the VR, the AR that this company already does, and kind of expand upon that.
Interesting. Yeah, that's awesome. And we haven't talked about it for a while, but ARKit's been out, and we actually got an iPhone. Well, we didn't get an iPhone, but we know somebody with an iPhone, and we've been trying ARKit. It's pretty cool, actually. We didn't make any videos on it because we haven't had time. There's been so many other videos to be made. But I want to delve into... Sorry for that, guys.
all
It
of our
looks like
phones.
someone messaged us on Slack.
Oh, it's Arjun. It's called a pass-through system. Thank you.
Oh, pass-through system.
Yeah.
Oh, he's telling me what it's
Yeah.
called? Okay, thanks, Arjun. It's called a pass-through system. Is when it's a screen and then it's like the AR is done through a screen in front of you. Anyways, it's where a lot of people think it's going to go. And actually, a lot of people think the HoloLens is a pass-through system if they've never tried it before, but it's not. Anyways, moving on to what I was saying. AR kit. It's cool. We got to try it. It worked really well. There was no apps on there that really like blew my mind or anything. And it did exactly what I thought it did. ARKit came out. Everybody was like, whoa, ARKit. And I haven't heard jack about ARKit.
Okay, so you say it does exactly what you thought it did. So then is it like this? Is it like cardboard VR then? Is it like a nothing almost? Or is it cooler than that?
I'm going to say HoloLens Day 1 stuff without any of the major pre-release apps.
Okay, yeah. So take away fragments, take away Young Conquer.
RoboRaid, take away
RoboRaid.
all of those.
Okay.
And that's basically what you're getting with ARKit at this point. It's early. You can tell it's early. All the apps. I think they really failed by not having any flagship apps.
Okay, so why do you think that Apple did that then? Why would they release this to people and not give us a flagship app to play? Apple's never given us a flagship app, but it feels like if you're going to come out with this system, like this whole new way to contextualize information, I think they should give us a better use case than just say, oh, we'll leave it to the free market.
I think they
Which
were
wasn't ready
rushed.
for it.
I think they
Okay.
were rushed is what it was. I think they just wanted to get something out. Microsoft had a lot of time. Nobody else was competing with them. They could sit down. Fragments probably took so much money and time to develop. So I'm curious. I wish I could see when Microsoft came up with this idea. I want to see when their patents were filed, when people started discussing this, or even before that. I would love to get like an inside history of the HoloLens, because I'm going to say this has been around for like 5 or 6 years before they released it, if not more.
Ever since Microsoft Bob.
Oh, the the software house.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you always throw me off my train
I'm
of thought.
sorry. Train wreck.
I think they've been thinking about this a long time, and I don't think anybody else had that much time. And so I don't think that's why we'll see experiences comparable to what Microsoft has or what the HoloLens has for quite a while. And I think that's why we're seeing Apple kind of scramble to buy up startups. I mean, $30 million, that's not that much for an acquisition, especially if someone's producing
Yeah, for
and they
an
have a product.
that's like nothing.
Yeah, especially if they have a product and they're showing something off. Normally,
Yeah.
that's like you have an idea and you have some patents, maybe, and that's why they would. If these guys actually have a product, so I mean,
We're
these,
probably making these guys have like seller's remorse, like, oh, should we have sold or should we have asked them for
They're
more?
like watching us.
Yeah.
I bet they could have held out for more. I bet
yeah.
honestly,
Oh, yeah.
if they could have kept developing their device, kind of pulled the long haul like Meta's doing. I think Meta's handling it probably the smartest out of any of like the lower end people. Meta's doing a really great job right now, just biding their time, waiting by, building cool things, building cool technology, and then someone's gonna buy them up. Some big company, Alibaba, somebody's gonna be like, just want to get into the AR game, and they're gonna dump a crap ton of money on Meta's plates to acquire them. And I think that's their end goal, actually. Pull it off the table so it doesn't vibrate. But any comments? Has anybody said anything super exciting?
Let's see. Number one HoloLens fan, Xbox One X will be stepping stone in mass VR adoption for games.
Very true.
HoloLens for life. Mobile AR is all about utility. It does not have fun factor in it.
I don't
So-
think it even has utility factor.
Yeah,
I think it has.
I
gimmick
don't
factor.
understand where you're coming from by saying that right now. I think it more comes from just like showing people what they might be able to do. But to say that it has utility in it, I don't think there's many apps out there in the AR space that you're like, oh, I can use this every day. And it, like, if I forget to bring like my glasses with me or my phone with me, I will just be completely a wreck. Like,
Yeah.
I don't see any app at that point that does that.
Exactly, and that comes from part where we're new into the medium, but at the same time, it does show like how rushed I think Apple was, that they didn't create anything like that because they didn't pre-install anything on anybody's phone, which I think they should have created something and pre-installed it on someone's phone and forced people to get used to it, honestly. But we see everybody. I mean, look. AR Core was feeling really, really rushed, but we haven't heard anything about AR Core recently. Like, it was like there, everybody's like, oh my God, it's coming tomorrow. Get on the dev edition, get on this because it's coming super fast. I think AR Core realized, hey, AR Kit is really not that big of a deal. and I think that's why we haven't made very many videos about it, because I haven't seen many videos online. No. There's not much competition. I don't know how much the need is, so that's why we don't feel super rushed about it. So I don't think it's a bad thing, but it's just interesting. I'm curious to see where it goes, though.
The animojis, that's what's gonna save them.
Yeah,
oh, really?
Right.
Yeah, just a couple emojis where. Come on, Austin.
$1,200 for the emojis.
That's why I buy an iPhone.
Apple's not doing so hot, though. Especially with the iPhone X. People are not happy with the iPhone X at all.
But I think the iPhone 8 is classic iPhone, and they're going to do well on that just because it's just like it's your general iPhone. Nothing special there. But yeah, the iPhone
notches.
X, nothing. People, like, developers have already come out with apps to take away the notch. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, like... Well,
she eating stuff?
Yeah. I was reading a story like Apple doesn't want developers to take away the notch, but some guy already released code that takes away the notch for every app that you could use. So it's just like no one wanted the notch. So why did you put in the notch?
Exactly, for $1,000. I'm curious. For a nerd, it's really cool. It's jam packed with some really awesome information.
All those sensors like up on there. That's awesome.
But freaking, we always get mad at Apples for stuff. We always get mad when they took away the headphone jack. I bet we can go back a year ago to the podcast and listen to when we talked about them getting rid of the headphone jack. I bet we were pissed.
Oh yeah.
But guess what? Google Pixel doesn't have a headphone jack. Basically, no new phones have a headphone jack still. So I mean, they set trends. Whatever we say about them, they set trends, and they sell phones.
And it's kind of funny. We saw that Chinese knockoff of that HoloLens, and we thought it had a headphone jack on it, and I remember us saying like, "Oh, yeah, that's crap. Like, I don't want a headphone jack on my HoloLens." And it's like, I guess we've kind of changed our minds. Like, Apple did it. Like,
exactly.
They just did it, and they're like, now you guys think this way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think they
Without
could do the
us
same
even
with
knowing it.
I bet they could do the same with ARKit too.
Oh yeah.
I think they're just biding their time. I think they're getting ready. So speaking of that, the Chinese headset, there was a rumor of a release of a headset that's getting picked up by the mic. Just do it quick. Just finish it. There we go.
There you go. There's a little bit of
ASMR.
Yeah.
Every episode, I do something.
There's a company in China that. How do we explain this? We're gonna make a whole video on it. Just there was a new HoloLens rumored to be releasing by VidC. I don't even remember. We're gonna make a whole video on it. But
Voidsy.
anyways, the headset's really interesting. Be looking forward to that. Go ahead and go look at those rumors.
We tried to prank call them, but it didn't work.
I tried to really call them, not even prank call.
We tried to call them to figure out some information about their device and how we can invest in their company. And they are looking for investors if anyone is interested. Good luck getting in touch with them, but you do it.
Did we try the email? Did we email them?
We should.
Oh, yeah, I can write them an email.
So what else do we have in our news bucket?
This one's more just about like a general topic. It's an article in Business News Daily, and it's just talking about how mixed reality is changing manufacturing for the better, just in terms of like how they're helping employees in the manufacturing sector with their daily jobs by taking data, crunching it, and performing less errors. I was actually just talking to my mom today. She works for GE, and they're one of the market leaders in this kind of digital manufacturing. And they have a proprietary app that they've built for the HoloLens for the creation of jet engines.
Oh, really?
And she got to use the app, and it like shows like what wires you need.
On the HoloLens?
Yeah.
So she used a HoloLens externally from us?
Yeah, she used it for GE.
That's crazy.
That's awesome.
Program. So,
what did she say? Was she like, I already know how to use this?
Yeah, she actually knew how to use it, and the guy that was like trying to show her was like, oh, well, here's the app then. And so she went through and like basically it taught her how to build jet engine.
Oh,
like,
that's awesome.
Like it
That's
tells
so
you
cool.
what tools to use, or if you like tap a tool, it'll come up with like a little tool tip, like telling you like here's like what you'll use this for. So
me and Raven talked about this on our most recent. We just released a video where we were demoing Prism by Object Theory, and me and Raven talked for about like an hour, and we had to edit it down to like 30 minutes. But we actually had some really interesting discussion about this stuff, about how it's so misleading as a indie developer or as a consumer to the HoloLens right now. because you feel like there's not many apps out there. You feel like there's not very high quality apps. There's not very stuff like that. But he was telling me, he's like, you should see some of the industry apps. People are creating incredible, crazy things, but due to like embargoes or copyrights or blah, 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 they can't show them to people. They can't release free versions of them. They don't want people to know about them. But he's like, you should see some of the stuff people are making. It's incredible. And that's what I want. We're jumping the gun a little bit to get a consumer grade HoloLens, but I really like that Object Theory is making that effort to release a consumer grade version of their software, to show it off, to get people to see it. That's really exciting to me, because this is the first app that I've seen that has like fragments level quality to it, to a consumer app. Of course, Object Theory was the first Microsoft partner, and they've been working on this app for a long time. But I wish we could see some more of those, like the big guys pay for the apps and the little guys still get to use them. That kind of methodology.
Slack methodology.
Like what Slack does. And I think that's the way we're moving with software in general. I'd really like to see that on the HoloLens more, like a lot. But that's insane that your mom actually got to try some. I bet the app was really good too.
Yeah, she said it worked like awesomely. Like they wanted her to use it more to implement in her own processes in her lab that she manages, but it was still just like an amazing opportunity to just go and use something that like no one else gets to use really unless you work for GE. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, so I asked her if they would let us use it, and we'll see.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Okay,
cool.
Sweet.
Cool.
Because if we could be the ones to leak that would be awesome. So
leak. We need to find a better word than leak.
Like
release.
Drop that, like, and show people exactly what they're doing.
Break the news.
I know, like, there's always these news articles like, oh, Ford has this new app, GE's doing this, Rolls-Royce is doing this. Well, we never get to see it because it's all proprietary information. So if they could cut out just certain parts of it for us, like, all we want to see is the basic methodology. Like, if we
can talk to someone, not even demo it.
Yeah. Or like do what you guys did with the Meta, like where you're like talking through it, and maybe you don't get the best video of it, but you show like little snippets.
You can still see what people are working on, which is awesome. I like Microsoft a lot, and I think. Do you guys think they're doing a good job to facilitate like a community around the HoloLens? It's basically been up to us and Jesse and other early adopters to facilitate the community. I wish Microsoft would hire somebody like Jesse or hire a small team to facilitate an independent developers and independent consumers and independent people a little bit more, because I think there's a capacity for it. I really think there is a capacity for it for a small startup, because like I bet in whatever factor our parents work, they could benefit from some type of this, but they cannot afford to buy enterprise grade software, enterprise grade HoloLenses, but they could afford to freelance out for a small team of developers and buy 4 HoloLenses, and benefit from it. So I really wish they were taking that angle. I mean, Microsoft's been killing it, except for with their marketing of WMR. I'm not a super big fan of that. But I don't know. I'm just interested to see where that goes and how they push the community edition forward. Because
I think what's going to be huge for it is that little like conference thing we're going to in February at the Microsoft headquarters. I forget what it's a hackathon, I believe.
It's a augmented. Oh my gosh, Jesse's gonna be pissed. I'll find out real quick.
Well, I think that's gonna be huge for just getting a bunch of like-minded people together. A lot of them developers. They're gonna be building a lot of cool apps, and we'll be there covering the entire thing.
Week-long event.
Maybe learn a little bit about it ourselves. So
the Holo Developers Summit.
Yeah. So I think it's gonna be really, really good for just go out there, meet as many people as possible, and kind of figure out what people are thinking in the community.
No, there is definitely like leaders within the underground community. I mean, we can name, or at least people that are really popular. I mean, there's Sean Ong, who's probably the biggest. He's got the biggest sway out of everybody just with his YouTuber base and all of that. I think Sean Ong's probably a big one. Jesse started the Holo Developer Slack. We run the Holo Herald. There's some other people. There's some really important players in this, but yet Microsoft hasn't like. Outside of those, Microsoft hasn't put much effort forward. Everything still feels very enterprise,
right.
That's where their target should be. But I mean, they're such a rich company; they could throw a little team at
just
community
throw
development.
$100,000 at our community and just be like, "Here's a nice little like forum site for you guys." Like, number one HoloLens fan said like they should adopt the Holo Developer Slack, and they should like do more events around the country for like people on the Slack. It shouldn't just be like, oh, come out to San Francisco or come out, here. Like, it should be. I know there's a lot of people in New York. There's a lot of people in the Miami area.
Everywhere. Everybody's so fragmented. And,
Yeah.
I mean, Holland's just got listed like 26 more countries. And those people that are, like, developing for enterprise level, it's going to seep into, like, the down low stuff. And I just wish I wish there was a little bit more there. I don't see it from any company, really, though. I don't see it from Oculus or Vive or... I don't... Maybe because I'm not part of those communities, or Meta doesn't really push it forward. Nobody's really caring for that. I guess they need to make money, and that's where the money is, and then they can kind of focus on that stuff later.
And I guess if you think about it, if from our perspective, if we had a product and a lot of people started using it, would we try and facilitate the groups if they were already like facilitating themselves on Slack or Reddit? I honestly don't think it'd be worth our time if they're already self-organizing.
That's a good point. I mean, on the Holo developers Slack, I know they just created a bunch of people got together and just created like a wiki for developing on the HoloLens, because Microsoft hasn't put out like anything. Like, they have their developer videos and they have some forum stuff, but they haven't been collecting a bug database. They haven't collecting a development database or anything like that. And I know they've been Jesse and his team of people have been managing the GitHub repos and all of that stuff. It's just interesting how like there's like this little hacker culture that's growing around the augmented reality stuff. It's really exciting. It's cool for us because like we can see faces and we can see people. We can like name people, and Microsoft can name us. So I guess they're getting their word out there. Didn't you found like an analytics thing on like mixed reality, didn't you?
Oh, it was a report that some marketing group put out, but it costs like $3,800 to access, so I didn't really look into it. But they were just like in the summary of the report, they just named a couple of the market leaders, and I guess that daiquiri company, they're silently making waves. They make like they already have the hard helmet design completed with AR glasses built into them. They've been doing things like that. They've been coming out with things you connect to your camera to do AR on your cameras.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
So they're kind of working around that stuff. So I guess they're a market leader with that. HTC, I guess they consider a mixed reality market leader.
So that's what I'm confused about. We need this nomenclature around Mixar. It's probably like we should just name our podcast to the complaining about name.
Yeah.
complaining
about labels.
The What is Mixed Reality podcast.
Exactly, because there's so much stuff encapsulated under this video. I don't think we've seen any other, at least to my knowledge, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that has so much confusion around a terminology. But yet there's analytics, there's data being made, there's stuff being marketed, there's devices being sold under this title. But you can't get a group of 10 people together that all have the same definition of what it is. So I don't know. I'm curious to see. Someone needs to come through and say it. I'm pleading with the people, which I do this every time we talk about this. Someone at Microsoft, some of these leaders that they're talking about, come out, get 3 people together and say, this is what it is. Are you okay over there?
Yeah, I spilled a little.
Or even just write like an open letter to Microsoft from the Holo developer Slack and be like, this is what we think mixed reality is. You can either choose to like support this and sponsor this and stop marketing it, everything as mixed reality, or just give up.
Here's what I was thinking. I want to create a website that's called whatismr.com, and then it's just like a Reddit, and everybody can put in their own stuff, and the one that gets the most upvoted is the current definition, and it can change if like one gets upvoted more than it.
That'd be cool for like everything, like almost like a dictionary that's constant. The definitions are constantly changing
due to
like
upvotes.
like a
Sort of like Urban Dictionary, but
but like community led.
yeah.
Well, Urban Dictionary is community led, isn't it? Can
Are-
you vote
are-
on people's?
Yeah.
Are there
definitions?
definitions?
Yeah.
Wants to go up?
There's multiple
I'm going to
definitions.
Urban Dictionary. We're
Okay.
gonna look up what MR is.
Someone
right
give
now.
us a name.
I'm going to mixed reality right now. Let's see what it defines it as. We did this years ago. I'd love to go and cut this side by side when we googled what MR was. All right, mixed. I got the hiccups. Not a good time to get the hiccups. Mixed reality definition. Wikipedia.
Why do they use the Magic Leap video as the thumbnail? That's
What?
not real.
Magic Leap's basically stopped standing by that too, which I think is really smart.
Yeah, really smart, because people are going to be disappointed if they come in and are like, "Oh, that's what it's going to be like. I'm
Right.
buying one." No, it's nothing like that. Not yet, at least.
Okay. Microsoft developers. Microsoft has a. Oh wow, this is new.
Read it for us.
I'm gonna drop this in. Can you find this real quick? Just search mixed reality definition and drop it in there. Okay, so they define mixed reality as mixed reality is the result of blending the physical world with the digital world. Mixed reality is the next evolution in human-computer and environment interaction and unlocks the possibilities that before now were restricted to our imaginations. It is made possible by advanced blah 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 computer vision. So let's just start off with that first one. Mixed reality is the result of blending the physical world with the digital world. It's too ambiguous. That's like anything.
Well, that's kind of like our definition, which a lot of people had a lot of problems with. You remember?
Where you put like stuff in your space?
Yeah, we literally said that, and in that video, people had a lot of issues with us saying that we were putting things in our world.
Exactly, but the result of blending the physical world with the digital world. They also encapsulate like VR into this definition. This is like a VR AR encapsulation, which I don't think that's how it started out. I think that's what Microsoft kind of grew it naturally into.
Well, they have a spectrum. They have the mixed reality spectrum. So they say physical reality, augmented reality is right next to physical reality. Then they have digital reality, and virtual reality is right next to digital reality. And then there's device types, and then there's holographic devices such as the HoloLens, and then there's immersive devices such as the Windows MR headsets that just came out. So they are actually working to create kind of this almost like scientific, yet they leave like so much leeway for themselves. Like anything and everything can be called.
Your phone could be, right? I mean, if you did
this is a mixed
AR
reality
core,
device.
if you did AR core. Well, which is funny because we made fun of people when we first started calling mixed reality and stuff like that because people would email us and they're like, that's not what mixed reality is this. And we'd make fun of them. But I guess in the end, nowadays, it doesn't really matter. Like anybody else's definition. I'm confused. I want to see. There's no Urban Dictionary. It's just a bunch of news articles about it. Mixed reality definition, Urban Dictionary. Okay, mixed reality. Mixed reality refers to an event or activity that takes place in both the virtual world and the real world. Term possibly coined by Adam Pasek, Adam from
Reuters.
Chief in Second Life? Bureau Chief in Second Life? What? Reuters?
So,
No.
is this a guy that used to take Second Life like way too seriously and like interview people in real life?
I have no idea.
for
He
the
says,
game?
I'm conducting mixed reality interviews at events such as the World Economic Forum in Davos.
Oh, you're good.
She's fine. That's got 2 downvotes, though. That's the only definition, too.
Augmented reality blurs the line between what's real and what's computer generated. It's like, and that has 23 upvotes. So that's augmented reality.
What was it again?
Augmented reality blurs the line between what's real and what's computer generated.
That's stupid.
Yeah, because it doesn't.
That could be ultra realistic graphics on your computer.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be augmented reality. That's
The
confusing.
world may never know.
Or
Thanks, Austin.
Let's just accept
on that
it.
note, Austin, I think we're good.
Yeah.
Is that our last news article?
Yeah, that is the last one I had.
Any comments?
Not really. Number one, Holland's Fence just says there's a biasness. That's not a word. Bias, which deviates us from the proper definition. I don't.
Oh, like we all want our own
Oh, yeah.
definition to be
Okay.
the definition?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I guess I see that, but it would help everyone, including the companies trying to sell it. Well, I guess it's in their best interest to define it for themselves and try and sell it. And the person with the most sales wins the war of who gets to define what mixed reality truly is.
That's true. I mean, well, who knows if Apple or Google comes out? What if they don't use mixed reality? What if they use cross reality or something else? That's gonna be really confusing. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. I think we're on the cusp of that too. I'm thinking end of Christmas time we're gonna start seeing this hard stuff come out. I'm really curious to see sales on the MR devices after. Oh, let's talk about our Black Friday deal real quick.
Oh, yeah.
There's a really sick Black Friday deal for those of you that don't have a mixed reality headset. That we'll post right there. We'll probably add it in a couple of our videos. Actually, does it say how long the deal is going for?
There is no information.
Anyways, this is a is it HP? What is the deal?
Yeah,
You have it right there.
it's the HP Omen 870-224 desktop, and it comes with an HP mixed reality headset and controllers for $670 USD. It's at Best Buy right now, if anyone's interested. And it's not really even a Black Friday deal because it's going on right now. Like, you could get on your computer and buy it right now. So it's a great way to get into VR, I think.
It's got a 1060. It's got a GTX 1060 in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'm even thinking about it. Like, it's got a Core i5, it's got a 1060 in it, 1 TB hard drive, and it's part of their like Omen lineup, which is their gaming lineup. So they're gonna be really easy to upgrade in the future. So it's a good way to get into like a base gaming PC and then go from there.
This
in
is
a couple
probably your
years.
best way to get into MR.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to get into VR or MR,
Cheaply, anyway.
cheaply, yes, yeah, obviously, for under $1,000. Well, you could build something for under $1,000. For this price range, it's the best you could get into, and this is like the lowest price range we've seen. Even if you're looking to build your own computer, you're really not going to be saving all that much building your own computer unless you try really freaking hard.
I would get an SSD in there, but
Well, you can easily throw an SSD in there.
Yeah, like I mean,
yeah.
its motherboard's definitely gonna have
An SSD slot.
capability. Yeah.
So, I mean, you could do that. It's not hard. It's going to be awesome. Anyways, this has been the Reality Check podcast. Any closing words, dudes?
It was just great. I enjoyed being here for the first time in the office, and it was fantastic.
Since we already have this whole setup, we'll probably do another one before Paul leaves, and then we can just pre-record it and release it then. Probably be easier that way.
That'd be a nice little break.
Yeah, seriously. So, anything, Austin?
It's great having this conversation, and I'm glad that Paul was able to join us.
I'm glad that Austin's drink ended up mostly on the table, and the label ended
Thank
up
God
somewhere
it did
over
not
there.
end on the
It's in my
HoloLens.
pocket.
It almost ended on the HoloLens. That drink.
No, it didn't.
It came within inches. When we're talking about a $3,000 piece of technology,
About
that's
2 fingers.
That's close enough for me.
Ginger ale
Yeah.
never hurt the HoloLens.
But the HoloLens hurt ginger ale.
Breaking
That's
reality. Ginger ale versus the HoloLens. Anyways, thank you guys
Eventually,
so
our
much
doors.
for joining us for the Reality Check podcast, episode 38. We'll be here different time, different place next week, but we'll keep you guys informed. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode, and we will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I ask you about love, probably quote me a sonnet. But you've never looked at a woman and been totally vulnerable.